There is a city that exists only in whispers, a place of gold and marble, a civilization more advanced than any of its time. It rose from the sea, and in a single day and night it returned to the sea forever. This is the story of Atlantis. The legend begins with one man. His name was Plato. He lived in ancient Greece around 360 BC. Plato was one of the greatest thinkers in human history. He wrote about truth, about justice, about the nature of reality, and he wrote about a lost island called Atlantis. Plato claimed this was not a myth. He said it was history. He said it was a true story passed down through generations. According to Plato, Atlantis was a paradise. It lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Today we call this place the Strait of Gibraltar. It was the gateway between the Mediterranean Sea and the great Atlantic Ocean. Beyond this point lay the unknown world, and somewhere in that vast ocean stood the island of Atlantis. It was larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined. It was the heart of a great empire. The island was a marvel of design. The god Poseidon had created it for his mortal wife. He shaped the land with his own hands. At the center stood a mountain. Around this mountain, Poseidon carved rings of water and rings of land. There were 3 rings of water and 2 rings of land. Each ring was perfectly round. Each ring was connected by tunnels and bridges. Ships could sail from the outer sea all the way to the central island. It was engineering that seemed impossible. The Atlanteans built their city on these rings. The outer ring held farms and villages. The middle rings held homes and markets. The inner ring held the palace and the great temple. Every ring was surrounded by walls. The walls were covered in precious metals. The outer wall was coated in bronze. The second wall was coated in tin. The inner wall blazed with orichalcum. This was a metal that no longer exists. It glowed like fire. Some say it was a mixture of copper and gold. No one knows for certain. The wealth of Atlantis was beyond imagination. The island had forests full of timber. It had mines full of precious metals. It had fields full of grain. It had elephants and other creatures that no longer exist. The Atlanteans had everything they could ever need. They traded with nations across the known world. Their ships sailed to every shore. Their influence spread across the ocean. At the heart of the city stood the temple of Poseidon. It was covered entirely in silver. Its roof was made of ivory and gold. Inside stood a statue of the god himself. Poseidon rode a chariot pulled by 6 winged horses. The statue was so tall that its head nearly touched the ceiling. Around it were golden statues of the first 10 kings of Atlantis. They had been born from Poseidon himself. They were the founders of the 10 provinces of the empire. The Atlanteans were skilled in ways that seemed magical. They built hot and cold running water systems. They constructed bridges that could open and close. They created harbors that could hold 1,000 ships. They carved tunnels through solid rock. Their engineers understood forces that other civilizations would not discover for thousands of years. Some have wondered if they had help. Some have wondered if their knowledge came from beyond our world. The people of Atlantis lived well. For many generations they were peaceful. They were fair and wise. They honored the gods. They treated strangers with kindness. They built their society on justice and truth. The divine nature in their blood kept them noble. But nothing pure can last forever. Over time, the Atlanteans began to change. Their divine blood grew thinner with each generation. Human nature began to take over. They became greedy. They became proud. They looked at their wealth and thought themselves better than others. They looked at their power and wanted more. The same gifts that made them great now made them dangerous. They began to conquer other lands. They spread their empire across the sea. They even threatened ancient Athens. The gods watched from above. Zeus, king of the gods, saw what Atlantis had become. He saw pride where there had been wisdom. He saw cruelty where there had been kindness. He called together all the gods to pass judgment. The story does not tell us what he said. Plato's account stops at this moment, but we know what happened next. In a single day and night, everything changed. The earth shook. The sea rose. Waves taller than mountains swept across the island. The ground split open. Buildings collapsed. The rings of water that had protected the city now swallowed it whole. The greatest civilization the world had ever known sank beneath the waves. When the sun rose again, there was only empty ocean. Atlantis was gone. The sea where Atlantis once stood became impassable. Thick mud rose from the depths. Ships could not sail through it. For generations, sailors avoided the area. They spoke of shallow waters and hidden dangers. They spoke of a cursed place where a great kingdom had fallen. The memory of Atlantis faded. The story became legend. The legend became myth. But Plato wrote it down, and because he wrote it down, we still know the story today. For over 2,000 years, people have wondered about Atlantis. Was it real? Was it a story Plato invented to teach a lesson? Was it based on a real place that existed somewhere in the ancient world? The questions have never been answered. The search for Atlantis began long ago. Explorers and scholars have looked everywhere. They have searched the Atlantic Ocean. They have searched the Mediterranean Sea. They have searched the deserts of Africa and the ice of Antarctica. They have found ancient ruins in many places, but they have never found proof of Atlantis. Many locations have been suggested. Some believe Atlantis was in the Caribbean. The shallow waters there hide underwater formations that look like roads and walls. Some believe it was in South America. Ancient civilizations there built cities that seemed advanced for their time. Some believe it was in Spain. There are marshlands near the coast where ancient structures lie buried. Each theory has supporters. None has been proven. One theory stands above the rest. Many scholars believe Atlantis was based on a real place called Thera. Today, we call it Santorini. It is a Greek island in the Aegean Sea. Around 1600 BC, the volcano there erupted. It was one of the largest eruptions in human history. The center of the island collapsed into the sea. A circular bay formed where land once stood. The blast sent waves across the Mediterranean. It may have ended the Minoan civilization on nearby Crete. Other researchers point to different places. Some look to the coast of Morocco. Satellite images show circular formations in the desert. These could be natural, or they could be the ruins of an ancient city. Some look to the Eye of Africa. This is a massive circular formation in the Sahara Desert. It matches Plato's description in size and shape. Could the desert once have been underwater? Could Atlantis be hiding in plain sight? Modern technology has changed the search. Submarines can reach the deepest ocean floors. Satellites can see structures buried under sand and water. Sonar can map the seabed in detail never before possible. Every year, new discoveries are made. Ancient shipwrecks are found. Underwater ruins are explored. The ocean gives up its secrets slowly. Perhaps one day it will give up Atlantis. But perhaps that is not the point. Perhaps Atlantis was never meant to be found. Plato was a philosopher. He used stories to teach lessons. The story of Atlantis is a warning. It shows what happens when a civilization forgets its values. It shows how pride and greed can destroy even the greatest nations. It shows that no power lasts forever. Every empire falls. Every civilization ends. The only question is how it will be remembered. We still talk about Atlantis after 2,400 years. We still wonder where it was. We still imagine what it looked like. We still dream of finding it beneath the waves. Something about this story speaks to us. Perhaps we see ourselves in the Atlanteans. Perhaps we worry that our own civilization might fall. Perhaps we hope that somewhere out there, proof exists that the legend was real. The ocean keeps its secrets well. The waves wash away footprints. The tides bury evidence. The deep water guards its treasures in darkness. If Atlantis is there, it waits in silence. It waits for someone brave enough to find it. It waits for someone clever enough to understand it. Until then, it remains what it has always been, a story, a mystery, a dream of a golden age now lost forever. Atlantis may have sunk beneath the sea, but it will never sink from our imagination. As long as humans wonder about the past, we will wonder about Atlantis. As long as we dream of lost worlds, we will dream of its golden towers. The city is gone, but the legend lives on, and somewhere beneath the waves, perhaps the truth is still waiting to be found.